Today we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Vineet Patawari. So welcome, Mr. Vineet. The biggest learning while you were building StockEdge?
You will never have a perfect product to start with, right? So you will keep evolving, whether it's UI, whether it's the functionalities, the features, and the only thing which you need to do is have your customers engaged and give you feedback.
Compared to any other city, why did you choose to start in Kolkata out of all the places?
I think choose se zyada Kolkata was our home. कलकत्ता के अंदर वो फायदा है, लॉयल्टी है.
How did you come to start StockEdge?
My partner, Vivek Bajaj. So he wanted to spread the education of financial markets to people at large. He said that you want to do something in education. You've already done that. You have some experience. Why don't we come together and we launch something? That's where StockEdge happened. You know, Mr. Ramesh Damani, who's a ace investor in the country,
Yes.
he invested in us. Similarly, Kotak invested in us. Kotak Securities.
What is your personal investment philosophy like?
I personally believe that if you are investing in a business, not in a stock.
So do you have a lot of women also like on your platform?
Our platform is around 20-22% women, and I think this is almost similar to the overall investors in the country.
Right now, even like I see around me that the women are still answerable to someone in their family for their investments. So I think that is where the risk.
Even in 5 years, you will see pre-COVID and post-COVID changes. The mutual fund AUM has more than doubled in this period.
Yes.
We are at almost 65 lakh crores to 70 lakh crores right now.
Last month's data, 60% of direct SIPs have stopped.
Yeah, so when markets are bad, all directs will fly away.
Welcome to another episode of the Invest My Paisa podcast. And today we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Vineet Patawari, who's the co-founder of StockEdge, one of the leading financial analytics and equity research platform. He's also a co-founder at ElearnMarkets, a pioneer in online financial education. So welcome, Mr. Vineet.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So do take us through your career path and how did you come to start StockEdge?
Sure. So, career path, I'll start a little, from when I was a student, right? So, I was a very average student. And during my studies, I realized that, when my school changed, the environment changed, and I had a tough competition, and that led to improvement in my studies. Right? Why I'm telling this is because that was a turning moment, and there are more turning moments later in the history. So, then I studied commerce from St. Xavier's, Kolkata. I completed my chartered accountancy, and I also did my MBA from IIM Indore. In 2008, I passed out from IIM Indore. So I had a job with JP Morgan. This was back in 2008. When Lehman Brothers just happened, that international crisis, subprime crisis of USA, and the whole world was in a financial crisis. Our markets also fell, and all the jobs which were there, they suddenly dried up. Even the companies which gave offers, they pulled back some of their offers. So the entire batch of ours was scared, but thankfully I had a job from good place. But that was the time, those 2-3 months I had before joining the job, I decided that I'll do something of my own, right? So this was another turning point because see, in the 2 years in my MBA, I had this dream that I should start something of my own, right? That's when I decided that I'll do something which is relevant, which is required. So CAT went online in 2008. I thought people will start studying online. So education online is going to happen very soon. So from that perspective, I started a edutech platform called Fire Up. The whole objective was to train people on CAT so that they can clear the exam. But what happened was it was too early for people to start preparing online. They were giving exam online, but they were still preparing offline, right? It only happened that after Jio came into the picture and after, internet became very accessible, plus the payment gateway or the payment system in our country improved with the so many fintech working on that. the entire education online started working. So this I did in 2008. It was too early for it to work. I got very good traction in terms of number of people coming on the website, learning from us, etc. But monetizing was becoming difficult, right? And I was on my own at that point of time. I would say I had limited awareness about raising VC money, etc., etc. So I decided that the situation was such. I got married also, that I decided that I'll do a corporate job. So I went to do a job with CRISIL, which was a rating agency in sync with my education in finance. So I worked in it for 1.5 years, and then as the destiny had, I met Vivek Bajaj, who is my partner. And Vivek had a family business, and he was himself into trading, financial markets. So he wanted to spread the education of financial markets to people at large, right? And he passed out from IIM Indore in 2005. I passed out in 2008. So he was my super senior. So we met somewhere and we discussed. He said that you want to do something in education. You've already done that. You have some experience. Why don't we come together and we launch something? So that's where ElearnMarkets happened back in 2014, right? So couple of years later, StockEdge happened, because we realized that only making people learn about the nitty-gritties of financial market is not enough. You need to give them a tool which they can use and actually navigate through the complexities of the markets. Give them simple data. That's where StockEdge happened, and that's what we are working on from last decade or so.
Wow. So if 2014 was the start, you've just completed a decade last year.
Yes.
So tell us something ki, over this period of time, have you seen ki the investor behavior has changed? Ki wo log pehle zyada conservative the ya abhi zyada risk taking ho gaye? Anything that you've seen?
See, I feel these, long-term trends don't change so fast, right? But there are a lot of things which have changed, right? So if we just compare 5 years, you don't have to go back to 10 years. Even in 5 years, you will see pre-COVID and post-COVID changes. So pre-COVID, 2019, there were around 3 crore demat accounts, which have gone to 15-16 crores now, right? The mutual fund AUM has more than doubled in this period. We are at almost 65 lakh crores to 70 lakh crores right now. So these and this is driven by new investors, right, into the market. You see the number of new demat accounts, new folios, etc. And these new people have a different way of approaching the markets. Now, different ways you see of the entire AUM, 40% AUM is coming through direct mutual funds, right? Which means they are not consulting an advisor, right? So somewhere in this bull run in last 4-5 years, they had this notion that you don't need an advisor, right? A lot of wrong notions got built because of the timing of the market. It's not that they will not learn. Last 5 months have taught them a lot of things, right? So the larger trend is the same, but 4-5 years had a very good bull run, especially after 2020 March when COVID happened. The markets have been moving more or less in one direction, right? So I believe the investors are there. They thought they can do it themselves. That's a good thing because they spent a lot of time in learning, right? And then there was this whole bunch of influencers or people who started training, right? There was some repercussions of that, but there were good parts also, right? People at least became aware of the basics. Then there were these DIY platforms which helped them. Then there were platforms like StockEdge and ElearnMarkets which gave them quality education, quality analytics, etc. So this entire ecosystem developed in such a way that these retail individuals, they got empowered to a certain extent.
Yeah, and it came up in daily conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people were discussing finance as much or even knew about mutual funds or equity market ki khud se kar sakte hain.
Yes, and there are multiple reasons for that. Our economy, right? I'll go a little into economics now, macroeconomics. Our economy has been changing, right? We are developing now, and our per capita income is increasing. Our wealth is increasing. So what is happening is, when this happens, if you look at post demonetization, financialization of savings or financial investments have been happening very, very fast, right? people started investing in mutual funds, in equity, direct equity, and in a lot of other financial assets like NPS, which was earlier not there, right? So all of these resulted in money getting out from, let's say, fixed deposits, getting out from real estate, getting out from also your gold to a certain extent, and moving into financial assets. Even in gold, you had things like SGB, which is financial assets now. So financialization of saving was one big trend which came up, which led to this exponential increase in the equity culture of the country, right? And this is going to stay because still in India, I would tell you that entire financial wealth is around $6 trillion. And if you look at total wealth of India, right, it is upwards to $15-16 trillion. So you still have $8 to $9 trillion, which is parked in non-financial assets. Movement from there will happen, plus the overall kitty will increase, right? So financialization of saving is one big thing because of demonetization, because of a lot of other trends which came into the picture. So this is going to stay, and this will be further, people will learn and do it on their own. This trend of DIY will also going to stay. It's not that
that is going to go out of the picture.
Yes, but what will happen is the affluent and the HNI and UHNI, this class is increasing, and they will need an advisor. They will probably not go and do it themselves because the cost of mistakes is much larger over there.
Yes. So I was actually listening to someone's interview where he was talking about that how the new generation is into this concept of family offices. And पहले इंडिया में वो कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था, and this new generation is coming in and they are talking about building their own family office instead of starting a business or something. So what do you think about that?
I think you're referring to Mr. Sajjan Jindal's interview.
Okay.
Yes. So see, what is happening is, and this is not to the uber rich which you are talking about. This is relevant for people with moderate incomes. Also, what is happening is during the last 3, 4, 5 decades, their dads, their granddads, they worked hard. They created some wealth. And this generation is actually getting that wealth, right? And they feel that by working so hard, I'll generate, let's say, 20-30% ROI in a year. And the equity markets, again, that create some misconceptions that you can consistently generate 30-40% in a year, which is not possible. Now people will realize that. But anyways, they started thinking that I can have a family office. I can invest in startups, which can create phenomenal returns for me. See, there is something called survivor bias. Okay, what happens is we only look at the survivor stories or the success stories, right? We forget about the 99 failures which are there. People talk about having, let's say, someone's granddad purchased 500 shares of this, and by spending, let's say, 2,000 rupees, it has become 40 lakh rupees. There are stories like that. But if you ask that, was this the only stock he bought? No. He bought 20 other stocks. Probably 18, 19 went down the drain. Only 1 or 2 just created that kind of exponential wealth. What happens is we only look at survivors. And this is what happened with this generation also. They thought investing can beat returns which you can generate out of your own business, which I personally believe is not possible. If your 24 hours thought process is into that, in a growing country like India, if you can create a sensible business, nothing can beat the returns which you can generate in your own business.
Very
right?
true. Yeah.
So that's my answer to the people who want to move into, full-time managing investments.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think that you should do that. You can have professionals managing your money, or you can invest some time in managing your money, but not full time just managing that money, because
the money is coming from somewhere, right?
And as a society, I have seen the negative impacts of that also. See, there are people whose family were dependent on rent, interest. What happens is the generation which comes after that, they get used to easy money flowing into their bank account. So, easy money creates weak people. And weak people will create tough situations for their family, right? And then the next generation will see tough situation, and tough situation makes, strong man, and strong man will create good situations again. So this cycle will keep repeating. But yes, if you don't want to get into that cycle, then you have to break that easy money coming into. your business.
Makes sense
Yeah.
completely.
Hmm.
And what is your personal investment philosophy? Like any value investing thing that you have?
See, I personally believe that if you are investing, you are investing in a business, not in a stock. How is that different? See, in stock, when you invest, it's like you don't need to understand the business. So that's a trader's psychology, right? I'll buy this to sell this only, right? I'll not buy this to keep it with me forever. So in value investing, the thought process is, if I think that this company is available at a very good price compared to the value it has, right? I'll go and buy it and I'll hold it for some time. The thought process is not that the price increases and I'll sell it, or probably the price goes down and I'll panic and I'll sell it. No. The thought process is, I own the business. It's my business, and I don't get out of my business every now and then just because my valuation is increasing, right? I don't do that. I just stay put there, right? I try to understand what's happening in the business. I might be 100% owner of a business, but that business might be run by someone else. That's my business, right? In a stock, I can be a owner of, let's say, 0.0001% of the equity. Someone else is managing it. But my passion towards that business should be similar, that I should keep a track of what is happening in that business. In this philosophy, you can invest in 10, 12, 15 stocks. Beyond that, it becomes difficult to keep track of so many stocks. I think one should do that and keep investing. As an owner of a business or a promoter, what will happen if the markets will crash, your stock prices will crash? You will go and buy back more of that share, right? So as an owner, again, with that philosophy, you should buy every time there is a dip in the market and you feel that the prices have corrected, more than it should have been. So this is a good time for people like me, right? So I am not increasing the number of stocks in my portfolio. Rather, I am increasing the amount invested in those stocks based on the right level which I feel it is. So that's the difference between, let's say, how a trader will look at it, because trader do it for trading and an investor should do it for investing, which is keeping it for a long period of time, not thinking about when to exit.
Yeah, and a lot of people just listen to hearsay कि मेरे friend ने ये tip दिया, I got to know about this company from somewhere, and then they just buy and lose track कि क्या क्या है.
Absolutely. What I feel is, you should have a system if you want to be in stock markets. Even if you are buying a mutual fund or a direct equity stock, you should have an investment thesis. Okay. So investment thesis is, I am buying into this stock because this has a good market, because I feel that the entire market will grow. There will be some export opportunity. The management is very good. So you'll have thesis based on which you are investing. When you are reading a particular company before investing, you will develop that thesis. If there is anything which is going against that thesis, you should exit that stock. I'm not saying you will have to put, right? For example, let's say you are invested in your own business. Take example of Kodak, right? They were into films, right? Those were going out from the business. They should have exited that business and entered into some other business. A lot of successful companies started with some business and over a period of time, they evolved into some other businesses. So exiting a business is not bad. Similarly, exiting a stock is not bad. Only when your thesis is going wrong, or the company is doing something which is against your thesis. You understand? So the people who buy on someone else's steps, first of all, you should have very, very high conviction to buy on someone else's conviction, right? I must, believe in you completely, so that if you are convinced about that stock, I am convinced about that stock, right? It's a way of investing, no problem. But then I have to figure out from you only when to sell this stock, right? What happens is, most of the time people buy based on someone's recommendation, but they don't follow up when to sell, or the other person don't tell you when to sell, and you stay invested in that. Probably that person was playing a different game. He was playing a momentum game, right? The momentum is out. He got out of it, right? But you are still stuck with that. So what happens is, when you start playing someone else's game, you are destined to lose that game, right? Because you have never played that game, right? You should decide what's your game. If my game is value investing, probably the bull run when everything is so expensive, I have nothing much to do except studying companies, right? So I will feel left out. I'll have a fear of missing out on so many good opportunities, right? But that's not my game. You cannot be in all the parties in the town. There are 100 parties going on. You can be in a limited number of parties, right? So you have to have that conviction on your system and just stay put with that. Play your game. Don't play anyone else's game. That's what I would say.
Very well put. And I think the party example really made sense. And we have this fear of missing out, no? So I think we need to let go of that.
Absolutely.
How does your platform StockEdge help investors, make sense of data and all?
See, I'll tell you, the most difficult problem when we were envisaging this entire StockEdge piece was finding the right data, right? There are 5,000 listed companies, and there are very amazing companies which are very small, which are small, medium, and large, right? And every company will have thousands of data points, historical data. Plus, they'll have management con calls, they'll have annual reports, and so on and so forth. They'll have so much of financial statements which are there, and there are quarterly statements which are coming. For an individual investor, it was extremely difficult to figure out what companies are doing good on a particular parameter. So what we did was, we put all the data together. Then we created a lot of filters on top of it, which we call scans, right? So these scans will help you in identifying, let's say, companies which have been consistently increasing profit after tax for 10 quarters. Okay? Yeah. This is one parameter. Then stock which are above 200-day moving average. Let's say you believe in momentum and you have this. So second point. So like this, you can add 10 scans and have stocks which are meeting all 10. Right? This becomes your filtering criteria. What stocks you want to study? Because you cannot study 5,000 stocks, right? How do you choose? So these filters, these scans, let's say you believe any company where the prices are very low and some insider is buying, that's a good sign. If the promoter shareholding is increasing, that's a good sign. There are hundreds and thousands of such signs. What we have done is we have created options to figure out stocks which are meeting these criteria, right? Plus there are price data, technical के basis पे there are hundreds of data points. तो ऐसा बहुत कुछ है जो आपकी लाइफ को बहुत आसान बना देता है. At a button of click, you get the list of stocks. You have the starting point, where to start from. If you are doing bottom up approach, right? If you are doing bottom down approach, we have sectors. Which sector is performing better, where money is flowing from one sector to the other sector, which sector is performing better than market, etc. We have a lot of such things. So top down, bottom up, technicals, fundamentals, derivatives data, index related data, all of that is there, and in a very, very noise free, simple manner, so that anyone can understand.
Yeah, and plus, I think you have a very clean user interface.
Absolutely. We kept it like that. See, there was one very prominent player in the industry. So the problem was ads, right? Because they were a media platform. So what happens is media needs to have TRP, needs to have eyeballs, based on which they'll monetize themselves. We believe that in something, when you are doing something serious, you cannot see ads, right? Because if your financial analysis, you don't understand half of the things, it's such a complex subject. And in between that, you are seeing so many ads, you'll be lost, right? We kept it ad free. Absolutely. It's a freemium platform, which is mostly free, right? But still we kept it ad free because we wanted to give people a very simple user experience. Because markets are anyways too complex, right? To democratize it, we wanted people to learn it. But it's not possible for everyone to understand such complexities, right? We made it so simple in StockEdge so that people can understand using the interface itself. Still, I would say it's not easy, because again, it's a dry subject at the end of the day. I'll not say it is very, very interesting for people. So we're just trying to make things simple again in various ways.
I had actually gone to Bombay to a AMC's office, and वो fund manager के साथ बैठी हुई, and he opens StockEdge का website to show me the data of the fund, and all. So it felt so nice. I was like, oh, I know this company. And so yeah, because he said the data was very easy to make sense on the platform. What is your premium offering on that end?
So when my friends ask me which stock to invest in, because this is something we all get asked in the financial world, I tell them to go to StockEdge, and StockEdge Premium has a feature which is called Investment Ideas.
Okay.
We have a research team which does in-depth research of these companies, and we rate these companies on 6 parameters. Right? This is available for anyone and everyone. So we are saying, we are giving you research, but you need to have 100% understanding of how we are rating these parameters. We give you a report, right, in an easy to understand manner. so that you can evaluate the sector, you can evaluate the company, the growth prospect of that, the valuation, the solvency metrics, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the features.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you want to see investor portfolios of the best investors across the world, across India. You can do that in StockEdge. So there are many technical analysis features also. So, it'll take a full session, I think, to get into that. But what I would suggest people is, the whole philosophy with which StockEdge is made is from one data point, you can navigate to the other data point. And this will help you in learning things because, where this data is coming from and so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So you can just start into the app anywhere. It's free to use. Start anywhere and you will see that it is flowing from one data to the other data point, right? And you will learn in that because we have integrated learning. This is the advantage of having a learning vertical in our company, which is ElearnMarkets. We integrated learning in each and every data of StockEdge.
Okay.
So that's, let's say you are looking at the trend of ROCE of a company, right? And there you can understand what is our ROCE, what level is good, how to evaluate it, so on and so forth. So that learning is integrated.
What does ROCE mean?
Absolutely.
So do you have a lot of women also like on your platform? Do you
see our platform is around 20-22% women, and I think this is almost similar to the overall investors in the country. I think it's around 25% women are there. Similar or little lesser than that, right? Because see, ours is a little evolved platform, right? Wherein an investor who wants to do it himself, he'll use our platform, right? Women, I would say, they are people who are, I would say, risk aware, right? They take risk with a lot of. They would love to understand the risk first and then invest.
Yeah.
Rather than, if you compare it to men, they are more experimental.
Yeah.
They want to, it's like they would like to do it and see. They are okay in making losses also. That's why you will see 94% of FNO traders are men.
Right?
That
is true.
So 25% overall investors are women, but only 6% women are doing FNO trading.
Okay.
So they know what not to do. Right?
Makes sense.
So I would say, and the only problem is they lack confidence in terms of investing. That's not something they have been doing it. They have the knowledge, I would say, or they can gather it. But somewhere the country will evolve where women will have more confidence in managing their own finances rather than thinking that it's someone else's affair. And when that happens, there are researches which says that a woman is a much better investor than a man because they don't do a lot of experimentation. They are risk aware, right? They'll not do things just for the heck of it. So they generate better alpha over a period of time.
Yeah, I think this generation has just started handling their own money. So ek aur generation niklega and they'll be good. So because I think right now even like I see around me that the women are still answerable to someone in their family for their investments. So I think that is where the risk thing comes
but
into
it's
play.
Evolving. I think once they'll start showing performance which is as good as, let's say, someone a men managing it, definitely things will change.
Completely agree there. What do you think about, say, other financial products like mutual funds and insurance? I was recently reading your article on health insurance where you were talking about if the premiums are getting so expensive and there's GST on it. What is your thought on it?
So I'll take these as two separate questions. First, I'll talk about health insurance. I would say I get touched by subjects like this, right? Where we need to understand that our government, or any government for that matter, has certain obligations towards the citizens of the country, right? To provide the basic amenities like education, health, etc. Right? I understand it's such a large country, it's not possible to have good health amenities available for everyone through government hospitals because they'll have their own pressures, such a large population. Things might be improving over there, but still, if you go to a hospital here and anywhere in the country, you will understand the government hospitals. There are things which can improve. So what is the other alternative a middle class individual will have? To have health insurance, right? So ideally, the government should encourage each and every person to have health insurance so that at the time of adversities, if something happens, they don't have a financial burden on their family. Because I have seen middle class families' wealth getting wiped away by one such incident, right? because ultimately health facilities are so expensive, hospitalization is so expensive. So to enable you to sustain that kind of situation, the government should encourage health insurance, right? By encouragement, you mean the cost should be kept in control, right? The cost is increasing in the country. This year only it increased by good 20, 30, 40% for people, right? And the third point is the GST on health insurance. It's 18%, right? So that increases your premium. Let's say if my premium is 30,000 rupees per year, it will go to 35,400 rupees, right? Which is a big burden on people. So I appealed in that article that that GST should be either reduced to zero or maybe bring it in the 5% slab. And I am hopeful that in there is some rationalization going on with GST. This will be taken up. Even our transport minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, once pointed out that this should be done. So let's see what happens. But yes, the government should actually look into proposing GST, no GST on life insurance, on health insurance, right? And on education, even on private education, right? Tuitions, etc. You should remove it because ultimately our country needs those things, right? So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because 18% comes under a luxury product segment, right? And I don't think health insurance comes in that category.
Luxury is 28%. So there is another slab that's super luxury. 18% is also huge, but it's there.
Like almost 20%.
Yeah, it's huge. And regarding mutual funds, your other question. So I feel mutual fund is a much, much, much better investment than anything else. People are getting too, lured by direct equity because of it. It looks like a game, right? It feels like a game. Number one, it gives you highs of market, booming, etc. Plus, it gives you learning also. That's a positive side, that you learn about economy, you learn about a sector, a company, what is happening, right? All those things are there. But if you are there to make better money, most of the people will be better off going with mutual funds than going direct equity, right? Because you see, data suggests all of that. 90% of people, 89% of the people lose money in markets who are direct investors, which includes F&O traders also, right? If you are there for a long term, if you are a long-term investor, right? And the problem is the holding period generally is less than 6 months in general, right? So what happens is you are not a long-term investor and you will have to lose money because that's how markets are, right? So mutual funds, there is some amount of forced saving, there is some amount of discipline, expertise you get from the fund managers, and your rupee cost averaging happens when you do SIP. There are a lot of advantages compared to direct equity.
And government has tried to keep it as transparent, and I think it still hasn't properly reached the tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Yes, and I feel somewhere the government needs to change certain things, which is you have to empower IFAs, the individual financial advisors. You have to encourage commissions, because without commissions, like insurance got penetration in India because of LIC. And LIC was giving good commissions to its agents. So there was an agent in every village of the country, right? He was behind everyone, right? Forced them to buy insurance. See, ultimately it did some good to our country. Because ultimately if someone died in a poor family, they got some insurance money, right? Because someone sold them a policy. This happened because of advisors, and advisors had commission. Obviously, everyone needs to have some financial benefits. Now, in mutual funds, what is happening is people are saying go and do it direct for just, let's say, a small percentage increase in returns. But in long term, that's a problem. Because if I'm on my own, there is no one to advise that stay put in this market when markets are down from 5 months. It's time to invest more, right? From hearsay, I'll probably go and panic and sell. So there is a definite need of financial advisors like you, right? But what is happening is because of this lack of commission structure and this being portrayed as a better option to investor, the thing is not growing in tier 2, tier 3 cities. It is growing, but it can grow much faster if there are financial benefits for the advisors, and a lot of new advisors come into the ecosystem, I believe.
Yeah, according to like last month's data, 60% of direct SIPs have stopped.
Yeah. So when markets are bad, all directs will fly away.
So I think people forget about averaging when the market is
Correct.
down. And earlier, actually, government had this beyond top 30 incentive for people कि अगर आप tier 2, tier 3 cities में sell कर रहे हो आपको double commission मिलेगा. So in 2020 they changed it. They said कि नहीं जो है सबके लिए it's the same. So I think post that people who were working in the interior parts of the country stopped.
See, I would say this is penny wise, pound foolish. ठीक है, आप थोड़े पैसे कहीं से बचाते हो उसकी वजह से एक बड़ा नुकसान होता है. ठीक है, ये नहीं करना चाहिए. It's similar to imposing more taxes, right? Unnecessary taxes, like that thing happened with popcorn tax, right? So at times थोड़े से एक्स्ट्रा पैसे के लिए आप बहुत सारे रेपुटेशन लॉस करते हो, फेथ को लूज करते हो, या इस केस में जैसे आप पेनिट्रेशन को लूज कर रहे हो, राइट? हाँ, कुछ इन्वेस्टर्स के कुछ पैसे बचेंगे, लेकिन बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर इस चीज से बाहर रह जाएंगे, फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन नहीं हो पाएगा. तो आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा कि इंसेंटिवाइज सबको करना पड़ेगा. आईएफएस को इंसेंटिवाइज आप नहीं करोगे वो काम करने के लिए जो डिफिकल्ट है करना, टीयर 2 टीयर 3 सिटीज में बेचना, तो वहां वो प्रोडक्ट पहुंचेगा नहीं. Right, so you have to, as a government, and definitely they are doing a lot of good things to
streamline,
but it'll take time.
Yeah. Coming to a very hot topic these days, that is AI. Okay, so do you think that AI will make any change in the financial markets or the stock trading area?
See, this is something we have to understand. AI is like a platform. Like it happened with internet back in 90s when internet came to the country and everywhere else. On top of internet, a lot of things got built, right? You had platforms which got built. Then what happened is time came when a lot of apps got built. So your mobile phone became the platform for a lot of things to come, including your payment apps, your everything started happening on mobile. Now AI is becoming a platform on top of which a lot of innovation will happen in each and every industry, like it happened with internet. From finance to health to everything happened over internet. Similarly, with AI, a lot of platforms will build on top of AI. Right? Now, when we talk about fintech, right? Obviously, AI or machine learning can decide much faster now. They have this decision power, right? Based on data, based on different models, they can learn and apply things faster. So, from high frequency trading to even deciding on your investments, like robo advisory, which we used to call, now this will become more polished, right? You want to do deep research on stocks and sector, that will be possible with AI, which is already possible now, right? So what is happening is, these are small applications which everyone is doing on or her way, right? But this will explode when some innovative, creative people will come and will create a platform to amplify this use case. Right? So I said deep research on Tata Motors, let's say you want to do. Now someone has built a platform which will only work on deep research. Now it is saying it will give you information which earlier as a retail investors you were not bothered, or probably that was too much for you to assess. Let's say you are talking about, let me give you an example. You are talking about number of trucks going out of Tata Motor factory, right? If let's say 3-4 days it has dipped, that there is something happening, right? So this is just a random example. There can be examples or KPIs for every industry. It will automatically suggest those KPIs also, right? And those KPIs are changing on a daily basis. And you will understand, and it will tell you that this is now a slump. So a cyclical industry will probably know that the cycle is turning even before it happens, because there is some KPI changing somewhere. Right? So there are applications of this which will evolve and suddenly it will become available for you. You never thought that these things are possible and now it's in front of you. So I think already things are happening, but in next couple of years you will see a lot of new use cases of AI, right? It's a turning moment in our like internet was a turning moment, then mobile was one, and now this AI thing is there. Yeah.
Like my brother was mentioning to me that US mein there's this person who tracks that parking lots kitne full hai outside the market and all. So the KPI thing you were mentioning. So do you think that all of these research will replace traditional stock analysts?
See, nothing will replace anything. Still 60% is with regular, right? In mutual funds. So what happens is the composition changes, right? Or the research, the people who will do research, they'll now do next level research. As in, they will use AI themselves to come up with better research. Number one. Number two, there will always be a difference between a normal person who is not trained on finance or not trained on understanding the data and a person who is trained. So now this person's role will evolve into someone who will have to explain what AI is coming. So from research, probably he'll explain you things better now. So from research analyst to advisor, that journey. So you have to explain the research to someone, right? Research will become simpler. But my role as a research analyst, I think, is still to stay because things will not happen on its own. Someone will need to apply the mind and then explain it to the end user.
Like even for mutual funds, I've seen that where they've tried to put an algorithm compared to a fund manager, the fund manager always beats a fund which is running on its own. Coming back to your platform, StockEdge, how do you think it's doing compared to its peers and what is it standing?
So, different people, so markets is such a large thing. Different people have different games to play. And I think what we are doing is little different from all the other people in the market. So we have our own space in the market and that's growing and we are happy with our growth. We primarily look at how we have been performing with compared to ourselves in the past, right? And how our users are engaging with us and the NPS of the product, the reviews, the ratings, the feedbacks. And we do a lot of discussion, right? We do a lot of face-to-face meetings with people, events, and we try to get the pulse of the users, right? The new ones, the existing ones, the very old ones, and how they have been interacting with it. And we believe that that's the most important thing, to evolve your product continuously, because the moment you stop evolving your product, people will have better place to go and do things, right? So we have been fortunate in that manner that we have been evolving, and in fact a lot of our co-players in the ecosystem, they have got inspired from the features which we have built and they build on top of it, which is a good thing. People, it helps everyone. And
imitation is a form of flattery.
So we look at ourselves more than we look at others. So in that way we are doing reasonable.
What was the biggest learning while you were building StockEdge?
See, I just answered that you will never have a perfect product to start with, right? So you will keep evolving, whether it's UI, whether it's the functionalities, the features, and the only thing which you need to do is have your customers engaged and give you feedback. We were very lucky in that sense. We got the formula right, that we got tons and tons of feature requests that this is there, but if you put this will become more interesting, it'll become more useful, right? Or probably if you give us download of this feature, and we kept on building that. So we at any point of time have around 200-300 backlog of features which have come from users, and we try to keep a pace and add those features, but it keeps building up. And that's the love which our customers or our users are showing us, that we need this feature, and they do it with a lot of confidence that we'll do it. So yeah, that has been a good thing, good learning.
Compared to any other city, why did you choose to start in Kolkata out of all the places?
I think choose se zyada Kolkata was our home. For me, Vivek, and later my third co-founder Vinay, who joined in, and that's where we created StockEdge. तो हम तीनों का घर था यहाँ पे. हम तीनों Calcutta के मारवाड़ी. We did our schooling in the same school, though they were a little senior to me. Our college was Xavier's. So it was like, and all three of us are chartered accountants also. So this is typical Calcutta Marwadi way of studying and doing things. Calcutta, I would say, happened, but it had a lot of advantages, some disadvantages also. But I'll talk about advantages. The most important one I feel is people over here are more, they stick around. Okay? They stick around. And if they like you, they like the culture of the company, they'll give their best and they'll stick around with you. if you contrast it with cities where there are more opportunities, right? They keep jumping from one place to the other place. So this is a blessing in disguise, I would say, that people stick around with you, you keep them happy, you have the right culture, and that is required to build a good product. Consistency in the people who are building it, right? People find it really, really difficult, and that's where a lot of money also gets spent, because the salaries of techies went out of roof for some time. Now there it is corrected a little bit, but वो Calcutta के अंदर वो फायदा है, loyalty है. And the other advantage was, the cost of manpower is slightly lesser than other cities. But that thing we learned, that you have to bridge that gap to have the right manpower because now post-COVID, this is more true, that the entire workforce is remote. The entire workforce is agile. They can move from one place to the other place. If you don't create a sync of salaries, as in, the salaries should be same with, let's say, Mumbai, Delhi or Bangalore. Otherwise, they'll shift there, right? So for your manpower, you have to have that kind of parity. And we are very fortunate to have very, very low attrition. And I personally very strongly believe that your people build your company, right? You are like a traffic guard who are just telling people to go this way, that way, right? Give them directions. But those are the people who are building it. They are the drivers. So if they are treated in the right manner, and if they stay with you, stick with you, they feel they have the sense of belonging, then you will create something good. So that way Calcutta has been a good place.
How did you move on to raising funds for your company, and what was that process like?
For us, mostly we never worked very hard towards it, I would say. The investors which we had were all users of StockEdge.
Wow.
So, Mr. Ramesh Damani, who is a ace investor in the country, he invested in us. वो use करते थे StockEdge, and he used to like the product. Right? That's where we met him, and we told him, he said that. So it was a discussion where this funding thing came up, right? And he was happy to invest in us. Similarly, Kotak, it was more of Kotak invested in us, Kotak Securities, and it was more of a investment because we were in the same industry, and there were synergies to be explored together, right? So pure financial investment का वैसा नहीं था हमारा. And the good thing was, post Kotak's investment, we worked hard, and we came to a situation where we are self-sustainable, right? So we didn't raise further funds after that. And then, now probably to go to the next level and add more verticals to it, we'll see if we can explore some fundraising.
So you've been lucky in that area that you found users who were willing to join hands.
So we were, taking money from our investors, from our customers, right? And we'll probably start giving it back to our investors in some time, because we are already break-even, profitable, right? So
that is very commendable. What are some habits or some thought processes that has worked for you, personally or professionally?
I believe in 2-3 things, right? This is a big question, and a lot of things can be discussed here. But मैं कुछ 1-2 बातें बताता हूँ. एक है कि motivation is very, very overrated, right? You should have I believe routine is much, much more important, or discipline for that matter. Right? Motivation comes and goes, right? जब motivation नहीं होता तो आदमी कुछ नहीं करता, और consistency के बिना you cannot build anything in life, right? So for consistency you need a routine, and for routine you need a discipline. So एक तो ये हो गया. दूसरा, आप करोगे क्या, रूटीन में करना क्या है, तो उसका एक सिस्टम होना चाहिए. आप सुबह उठोगे 6 बजे और 9 बजे तक क्या करोगे, एक डिफाइंड प्रोसेस होना चाहिए. rather than let मतलब चीज़ें अपने आप हो रही है, स्वतः ही हो रही है, उसके जगह आप अपना एक प्रोसेस सेट करो कि मुझे ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, राइट? यू हैव अ ब्यूटीफुल टूल कॉल गूगल कैलेंडर. यू कैन हैव 15-20 minutes, half an hour slots for everything. So if you want to read, you should have a time. That's a process. 7:30 to 8:30 I'll read every day. Same place, same, I'll take up a book and set up. Everything should be same. This is a process which we are talking about. Similarly, when you are in office, the day should not go just like that and you are busy for the whole day. No, it will kill your productivity. You should have a process. From 10 to 10:30 you will do this. So half an hour slots, this is called time boxing or time blocking, right? Half an hour slots, you have a think that you will do these things, and you keep certain slots free for random things which might come up. And people in your office should have that discipline also, so that they don't disturb you, right?
Yeah.
Too much of availability is also not good. You should have an open office culture, but if you're available all the time, you cannot do deep work. That means you cannot spend 2-3 hours to do something, research, etc. Or probably if you are good at, you want to read something, you cannot read if everyone in your family is disturbing you all the time, right? So you have family time, you have time with colleagues, etc. But you should have a me time too. All these things will happen when you set up a process. Similarly, if you're talking about financial discipline, right? One credit card payment missed is like at least 2,000 rupees gone, late fees, interest, this or maybe more, right? Based on how much you're using it. So you should have a calendar. Your payment date is fixed. Either you should put on auto pay or you should have a calendar. You should apps like, let's say, Cred or something else to make the payment. So don't rely on your future self that मैं कर लूंगा, मुझे याद रह जाएगा, all those things. You should have a system process for everything. अगर इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम का ये डेट है तो 15 दिन पहले मेरे को कैलेंडर इनवाइट आएगा एंड आई विल मेक पेमेंट देयर. मेरा पेमेंट जब इनवॉइस आया, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल का कुछ आया, आई विल पे इमीडिएटली. आई विल नॉट थिंक दैट 10 दिन के बाद एंड डेट है, बिकॉज मुझे शायद याद नहीं रहे. तो डोंट रिलाई ऑन योर फ्यूचर सेल्फ, राइट? हैव सिस्टम्स, प्रोसेसेस, हैव a lot of reminders. Align your team in such a way that they also send calendar the moment, because let's say I have a meeting fixed with you and there is no calendar, I miss it, then I will say sorry because मैंने सोचा मैं याद रख लूंगा, right? This create a mental clutter also, which is called mental fog. कुछ ना कुछ चल रहा है. तो एक तो मोटिवेशन पे रिलाई नहीं करना है, एक अपने दिमाग पे, माइंड पे ज़्यादा रिलाई नहीं करना है. हैव सिस्टम्स, प्रोसेसेस, राइट? मेमोरी पे ज़्यादा रिलाई नहीं करना है. हैव एक्सटर्नल टूल्स वेयर यू आर राइटिंग थिंग्स, राइट? So these are some of the things which I said, you asked about habits and strategies. So these are some things which I use.
You spoke about reading. So do you have any favorite books which you would recommend?
I have many books. Depends on which genre you are talking about. If you see, with respect to startups, right, I would suggest people to read things like 0 to 1, right? Things like you have this book which is called Rework, right? It has a very different perspective on how your daily routine should be and things like that, how you should build your business. Then you have Hard Things About Hard Things. So ऐसी बहुत सारी बुक्स हैं. रीड बुक्स विच आर रिटन बाय पीपल हु हैव बीन देयर, डन दैट, राइट? जिन्होंने खुद बिजनेस बनाया. तो 0 to 1 जैसे मैंने बोला, या हुक्ड बोल के एक बुक है, इफ यू वांट टू क्रिएट समथिंग ऑनलाइन, राइट? इट्स रिटन बाय समवन हु हैज सीन फेसबुक, who has seen how Amazon, Instagram was built, or any platform like that was built, called Hooked.
Anything on these systems and processes, things that you spoke about?
On productivity, there are a lot of books. Like you have Atomic Habit, which is on the habit. It's a very general book. On financial side, you have Psychology of Money, right? It's a phenomenal book, I think. For anyone who is just starting into investing, etc., I think that's the first book one should read.
Yes.
Or probably it can be made part of a curriculum in schools and colleges, right? Because see, we talk about 5% in our colleges, CA, MBA, everywhere, which is where to invest. Company को कैसे evaluate करें, उसके financials. But I believe that's only 5% of the game. 95% is psychology. Because अगर मैं सही स्टॉक खरीद के गलत टाइम पे बेच दूंगा, या गलत स्टॉक को सही टाइम पे भी खरीदूंगा, अगर मेरा बिहेवियर, साइकोलॉजी ठीक नहीं है, आई विल ऑलवेज लूज मनी इन लॉन्ग टर्म, राइट? सो साइकोलॉजी ऑफ मनी इज वेरी गुड बुक. एंड इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी इनटू द गेम ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग फ्रॉम सम टाइम, देन पुअर चार्लीज एल्मेनेक, which is Charlie Munger's book, that's a great book for people who are little advanced in that. So yeah,
that's a lot of books. Thank you so much for your recommendations. And before we close, we have a token of appreciation from our end.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I hope you like it. And
I like the name also, Invest My Paisa, and I think you are doing a phenomenal work with this podcast, because I've seen some of the episodes and I feel very relevant discussion happens without too much of structure, which makes it free flowing and interesting. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking out the time for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.